Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm the Monk and today we are in Crusader Kings 3 and this video is going to be about succession, about keeping your empire together, a few things to look out for and tricks and tips that I've kind of picked up along the way. Now, I've played Crusader Kings for quite a bit now. I've played both on the PC and the console, and I'm trying to do my very best to kind of get together as many little guide and tip videos as possible. Unfortunately, this is a huge game. It is very complicated, and quite often you can get lost under everything that there is to learn about this game. So if I forget anything, if I don't cover anything or don't talk about anything enough for you, comment down below and I'll do my very best to either answer you in the comments, invite you into the Discord, which the link for will be down in the description if you want to chat about that, or of course perhaps I can make a brand new video talking about that very subject, because you can get anything within this game and pretty much talk about it for a very long time. I'm going to try and make this video as short as possible and just get down and to the point. And of course, guys, if you do find this video entertaining or just want to see more Crusader Kings videos, don't forget to hit that like button and of course subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to show the support and it shows me that these videos are wanted and needed. So let's talk about actually how to get a kingdom in the first place, start from the beginning and build our way up. I think that's probably the best way to do it. I do want to talk about mostly about keeping your kingdoms together. As you can see, currently I have quite a big empire. I've taken over quite a few different things. In fact, this is actually my current playthrough. In my current save, I've taken over all of France as well. We've gone down into Spain, which is quite cool. Anyway, let's start at the beginning. Now, when you very first start this game, you could start off with a county or something even bigger. But before a county, you have a barony, which is the tiniest title you can really hold in this game. A few baronies can be in a single county. As you can see here, we have 2 baronies, which are basically just extra little castles within the county. If we tap X and move into our holdings, we can see that we can grant these castles to low-ranking nobles. You can also give them to holy orders. That's something in military that you can create, which is an extra little army that you can call to battle for you. And of course, in a county, you have multiple counties that make up a duchy, which is the next kind of ranking title. And of course, then many duchies equal a kingdom. And then many kingdoms equal an empire. So we've covered all of that. The other thing we're going to have to talk about is claims. How do you get all these things? Well, you can get claims from many different ways. You can inherit claims, which is what we're going to be talking about again a little bit later. You can actually fabricate claims within your council as well. You can talk to, depending on who you're actually playing as. For me, it's this guy right here. He can fabricate a claim. And you actually have a chance. I think I'm fabricating a claim for this little county here. And in 12 months, he's going to come to me telling me he's either got a fabricated claim, or there's also a chance that he'll give me a fabricated claim to a duchy, meaning I'll be able to take a decent size area rather than just a county at a time. Now, depending on who you're playing as, there are different ways. If I was playing as the Norse, you have a bit more leniency when it comes to attacking and growing your empire or growing your kingdom. But if you're playing as feudal, like myself, you have to do it the old-fashioned way. You have to have a callous bell. You have to have a claim to the land that you're actually trying to do. So, for instance, you've got the fabrication, you've got the inherited, or you can also have people within your court, people underneath your employ that have a claim to the piece of land that you want to go for. Like, for instance, if I was to attack what would be Western France right now, we go to declare war, you can see that we have a huge number of lists of reasons why we can attack them. For instance, Prince Monk the Third, second, he has a claim to an entire kingdom down here, which is brilliant. And because he's within my court, I'm able to actually carry out this claim for him on his behalf. And again, if you go to your character, go down to court, every now and again you'll have guests arrive, and they themselves will also have claims. If we go down to recruit to our court, we can see that for 210 gold, we will be able to get her in our court and then be able to carry out wars on her behalf. If we again have a look underneath her name, just get out. See here, it says that she has 3 claims. It's a way of you telling who you should invite into your court and who you shouldn't. She's actually going to be very good at intrigue as well, so that's another reason to hire her, for instance. And yeah, so that's how to kind of grow your empire. Now, the problem that a lot of people are having, I've seen a few comments, I've seen it in the various different discords that there are, in the Paradox Discord, in a Crusader Kings official Discord as well, that people are having a problem that when they die, starting off the game, that their kingdoms are being split up into multiple different places. And I'm going to try and tell you how I've found a way of keeping my kingdoms together. So let's pop into Realm real quick. Now, later in the game, you're going to have lots of different options. Later in the game, you're going to be very, very lucky. Once you have got enough culture, and you've managed to get the various different civics, like for instance, this one, very hard to get. It does take 150 years plus in order to get it. You're going to be able to go into your realm and slowly build up your crown authority. Bear in mind, the higher your crown authority, the more your vassals don't like it. However, you do get to have then rights to change the laws within your different titles. If we have a little look-see, you can change the law of succession here. Now, there's a few different ones that you're going to want to kind of look at. I'm not going to read them all out for you. I'm sure you guys can do that. But like I said, it takes a long time to actually be able to change these different things. For me, I've done it a few different ways. But basically, once you create a kingdom for the very first time, you then have an option. Now, you can choose to change it to, there we go, adopt a special succession type, and this will make it an elective. Now, an elective can be very good. When I very first started this game, I started playing as the Vikings quite often, or as the Norse. Within the elective, you get to vote and have your other vassals vote on who the title should be inherited to after your death. As the ruler, you can put up your choice. It can be anyone you want. Obviously, you're going to want it to be someone of your dynasty. And then you then have power over the other vassals to vote for you, or the way you want them to vote. You can get hooks on them. You can, have them all like you. There's various different ways you can manipulate the election to ensure that your heir inherits your title. However, once you get larger, once you become an empire, of course, things get a little bit more complicated because there's a lot more vassals there, all thinking that they know who should be the right heir. So that can get a bit complicated. However, I have found that to be quite a good way to run my empire if I want a mass amount of children. And I quite often do want a mass amount of children, because the more children you have, the bigger your dynasty, the more points you're going to earn. It's just a lot better and easier for your game if you have a huge family. Another way of running it is to only have a single male heir. Now, typically when you start the game, it's kind of set on default that your male heir will be the next to inherit the title. If you have multiple male heirs, the title will be split amongst the 2, 3, 4 children that should be inheriting that title. Now, the way it works is the highest title, the highest level of title, for instance, let's just say I owned a kingdom. If I only had one kingdom, so let's say I had the Kingdom of England, and I had two children, the titles would be split up between those two children equally. The highest title would go to my oldest heir, which would be the kingdom title, and then a few duchies would end up going to the second heir then after that. If I had one empire, again, it would be split up as equally as possible. The highest ranking title would go to my primary heir, with the rest of it being split. However, it does get a little bit complicated. It's something you're going to have to keep an eye out on, because let's say, for instance, I have England, but I accidentally have a good amount of Wales, or in this case, I have all of Scotland. Well, technically, I would have the rights to the kingdom. Did I just say Scotland? I meant Ireland. I would have the rights to the kingdom of Ireland. And of course, I have England, so I have the kingdom of England. Therefore, there's two kingdoms there technically that should and could be split up between my two male heirs. That's when there becomes a slight problem in this game. So you're going to have to keep an eye on that when you're expanding land. If you hit on the hints and it says in the titles that can be created that there is an extra kingdom there that can be created, that's when you could have a slight problem. So keep an eye on the amount of children you have. Remember, by default, it is male heirs, so you can have as many daughters as you like. As you can see, I have an incredible amount of daughters. I believe I have 13 daughters and only one male heir, so it works out well for me here. There's different things you can do, of course, to ensure you only have one male heir. And they are up to you how you want to play that. You can imprison them and kill them. You can disinherit them. You can order them to become, to join the clergy if you have that option open up to you in the lifestyles trees. There's different ways you can run it. That's the way I prefer it. That's the way I've got 400 years into my game, where I've made sure I only have one male heir. Sometimes I've had to kill my heir off. Sometimes I've had to disinherit other male heirs, just to ensure that my kingdom stays together under one flag. Now, when it comes to the elective, like I said, that's definitely a way to run it, but it does become more complicated. Another question I've asked is, or I had asked, is when you've become an empire and, for instance, you've inherited another kingdom. If we have a look here in succession, when I die, we currently have two kingdoms that are in an elective that when I die will not be part of my kingdom anymore because I'm not winning those electives. Well, you can change that. You can individually change different titles that you own. For instance, if we go on this one, Kingdom of the Targaryens, we can go over to successions and we can add laws, but we can also take laws away. Like, for instance, we can change the different electives, put it down to male only or male preference. It does cost us prestige, but we can also remove the laws. Again, it does cost us prestige, but if we remove that law, that election no longer becomes an issue for us. If we go over once again and go down to the Kingdom of the Reach, which I believe was Denmark, possibly, originally. And then if we go to succession again, go down to remove law, again, it's going to cost us prestige to do so. But now when we die, because we only have a single male heir, we can see that we have no titles lost on succession, which is quite cool. So have a little think about the way you want to go. Like I've said in my previous videos, when it comes to this game, it's about planning forward. It's about planning ahead. And if you don't plan ahead, that's when you become into some serious trouble. So when it comes to having kids, obviously you need to think about extending your dynasty. But when it comes to having multiple heirs, make sure that there's not going to be complications down the line. Like I said, multiple kingdoms, multiple heirs equal an issue. A single heir is a nice easy playthrough, having multiple heirs but only making sure that you control your death so that way you don't have multiple kingdoms that's going to be divided up. That's also a great option. Like I said, personally, I do like the elective. It just becomes a little bit more complicated when it comes to ensuring your heir is the heir that takes over the kingdom, especially as you get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think playing as the Norse, having a huge ton of kids, having a lot of heirs, but making sure that you never have two kingdoms that have to be divided or two empires that have to be divided is definitely a way to go to ensure you have a huge dynasty score. If we have a little look, I'm pretty sure if we hit on hints and go to, where is it? Titles that can be created. Oh, it's not here just yet. Okay. But if we was to wage our war for France, or of course, if I wage war, say, for instance, for Wales and Scotland and claim the rest of Britain, and then I end up being able to create the Empire of Britain or even a French Empire, that's when problems arise if I have multiple heirs, because that's when you're going to be looking for that massive split. So keeping it to a singular heir, in my opinion, is definitely the easiest way to play this game. So keep an eye out. Like I said earlier, playing forward is what this game is all about, looking at what tomorrow's going to look like. Now, something I actually failed to touch on so far is claims, both a press claim and an unpressed claim. So as you can see, we currently have an unpressed claim for Sweden. For the Kingdom of Sweden, it's important to remember that if I die with an unpressed claim, in other words, I haven't challenged for it, then on my next life, as in when I take over as my heir, I would lose that claim of Sweden forever. So keep an eye on that. The same with all of these unpressed claims. If I don't challenge for them, there's a good chance that I will lose them forever, unless I get them back in different various forms. But I think that's really everything I wanted to talk about today in this video. Like I said, it's very easy to make these videos extremely long and just put far too much information into them. There's definitely things that I didn't quite cover. So if I didn't mention anything that you wanted covering, please pop it down in the comments. I'll do my very best to reply to you guys. Like I said, we do have that Discord as well. We've got a few people in there that's playing that. Again, we could have a good conversation there. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something or just found it helpful. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, it makes a massive difference to the channel to have you guys actually support it this way. So a big thank you to you. And until next time, guys, I've been a monk. We've been Critically Clueless, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, happy gaming.